What's going on, everyone? So, the potential trade for Jerami Grant might have a bit of a monkey wrench thrown into it. The general idea for a potential package for Jerami Grant would be something along the lines of Rui Hachimura, Gabe Vincent, and Cam Reddish, along with one first. Yes, the Portland Trailblazers, they want 2 firsts, but even Portland insiders are like, they're not going to get 2 firsts for Jerami Grant. The consensus thought is that, hey, they're going to eventually come to the conclusion, realization, particularly closer to training camp, that like, hey, we're only going to get 1 first. Let's just take the 1 first for the Lakers. That's why a lot of people think that Rui, Gabe Vincent, and Cam Reddish will be sent out. They do not want D'Angelo Russell, which you might ask, why would they not want D'Lo, but they'd want somebody like a Gabe Vincent? And it's because D'Lo would demand starting, right? And then you got to try to flip him. It just becomes a hassle. Where like a Gabe Vincent, he's on a more reasonable contract. He is a guy that coming off the bench for the Lakers regardless. He could be a veteran guy that kind of comes in, helps with the young guys. He's easier to move because of his salary, right? Just makes more sense for them. If they have to take on a guard, it would be somebody like a Gabe Vincent. But the Portland Trailblazers decided to go and sign Devonte Graham. He was with the San Antonio Spurs the last 2 years, and now he is with the Portland Trailblazers on a 1-year deal. This is a bit surprising because, one, the Portland Trailblazers already have a plethora of guards, and it's like, where does he slot in? Where does he fit in? But then you get the news yesterday that they're shopping Alferne Simons in potential trades, and they want to unload him. So it's like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But then you think about the Lakers deal, and it's like, hold on, time out. Does that mean that they wouldn't want Gabe Vincent anymore? How do you end up getting that trade done? Now, it was kind of going around in the ether that the Portland Trailblazers originally wanted Rui Hachimura as well as Jared Vanderbilt. Now, that kind of makes more sense now if Gabe Vincent, being a guard, they might not want anymore because they just signed Devonte Graham, and it's like, how many guards are they going to have on their team? How many guards could they want? Now, maybe they are still willing to take on Gabe Vincent because they look at it as like, hey, he's still a tradable salary. Slot him at the point, slot him at the 2, right? He's not really a point guard. He's more of a, 3 and D guard. Also, even Graham, he's a guy that is more of a 2 guard than a point guard, right? He's more of like that vacuum scorer off the bench that you can bring in. So maybe it doesn't change anything. It's very possible it might not change anything. Also, given Grant's salary, I'm sure that the Blazers understand that most teams, if any, trade for Jerami Grant, it's probably going to have to take on 2 players or so at least. But this kind of potentially, again, may end up making things a little more complicated in the realm of adding Jerami Grant. Now, the Portland Trailblazers, they're not a team that is expected to do anything this year, right? They're a team that's tanking and heading closer to the bottom than they are the top and trying to get somebody like Cooper Flag. So they might not necessarily care. They might just look at it as like, hey, Graham's a guy that could slot in, kind of pick up some of the slack for Simons if we end up trading him. And then also, you end up pulling off a deal for a Gabe Vincent. Well, he's a guy that, again, kind of slot in, be the backup, slot in at the point, slot in at the 2. So maybe it doesn't. The other question that this kind of begs is, do the Blazers already have an idea on who's going to trade for Simons? Right? Like, is that something where they go, hey, like we kind of know where he's going, right? Is it potentially the Lakers? Do the Lakers maybe work out a deal to land Simons and Jerami Grant? It's always a possibility. I threw out that potential and that idea. That would be a little complicated because you're talking about sending out $55 million in salary. It's not impossible, right? It is something that can happen if the Lakers really wanted to do it. But again, you're sending out a lot of salary, and you'd have to exceed that salary. So even at $55 million, you'd have to send out essentially $60 million, roughly. I mean, technically you could do like $56 million, but you also need to fill out a roster, right? So, and the Lakers are only $45,000 from the second apron. So, and they would be hard cap, right? They aggregate salary. So the problem there would be, how do they round out a roster if they were to do something like that? Which is why I don't necessarily think that that's the case. I don't necessarily think that, that they're going to trade for both, because you're talking about D'Lo, right? Which, why would they want D'Lo and Gabe Vincent? Because you'd have to throw in both of those. So maybe it's a 3-team thing where maybe D'Lo's going to another team. But if you're going to trade D'Lo, yes, Simons is a guy that kind of makes sense in filling that role, but it's just like, you're almost better off going and getting a bigger position of need, right? Like, I'd rather trade D'Lo to go get a Wendell Carter Jr. or something like that, right? Go get that center that can come in and slot in. So again, I don't really think that that's necessarily the approach. The question, though, for just Grant, right? Stick to just Grant. If they want both Rui and Jared Vanderbilt, do you do that if you don't have to give up a first, right? Because Rui in a first kind of feels like it's pushing it, right? But the reason it's not so much, because I see a lot of people that are like, Jerami Grant, like, he's not a significant upgrade, right? He's not worth Rui and a first, right? Rui's the better player, all that. Even if you're in the camp that you believe Rui is the better player, I don't believe that. I think Jerami Grant is the overall better player. You can argue that Rui's the better or more efficient offensive player, right? But defensively, versatility on both the offensive and defensive side, Jerami Grant is just a better fit. And that's what it's about. It's not even so much who's better, Jerami Grant or Rui Hachimura. It's more who is the better natural fit alongside LeBron James and Anthony Davis, particularly with LeBron James more likely than not playing the 4, right? Him playing the 4, Rui slotted at the 3, it's tough, right? Where Jerami Grant, he is a more natural 3. He's quicker, better laterally, right? He can defend multiple positions, right? Essentially defend 1 through 4. If LeBron misses a game, boom, you just slide Jerami Grant over, and then you can bring in, if you trade Jared Vanderbilt, probably like a Dalton Connect or something like that. But point is that, like, you could get away with Jerami Grant on either forward spot, but he is equally as good at the 3 as he is the 4, where Rui is basically night and day at the 4 compared to the 3, right? It's not a coincidence that all of Rui's best games as Lakers are when LeBron missed. I mean, he had a career night in one of those games, right? So it's not about necessarily who's better. It's about who's the better fit basketball-wise, right? It's not necessarily in a nutshell, in a vacuum. It's basketball is very like, fit matters, right? Roles matter. Positioning matters. That's why you still need a point guard. You still need a center. You still need all these things, even in an era that is in many ways very positionless, right? And even like when I've talked about things where I'm like, why don't you slot, LeBron, Vando, Jerami Grant if you get him, Anthony Davis, and just go big. It's because you have guys like LeBron, which most teams don't have, where you have a LeBron who he can play the point guard if need be, right? So you can kind of do different things that other teams just can't really do because you have a LeBron James and no one else does, right? Just like, with like Luka, right? You can kind of do things that if you're Dallas that you can't really do with other teams because they don't have necessarily a Luka who's like a bigger type point guard. So to me, I want to keep Jared Vanderbilt, like badly. Like, I don't want to get rid of Jared Vanderbilt. But if you could keep your picks and keep everything and still have basically D'Lo and Gabe Vincent, right? And now, like, let's say you give up 2 pick swaps or something, right? You're doing Rui, Vando, and like 2 pick swaps for Jerami Grant. Because I wouldn't give up a first. If you're giving up both Rui and Vando, I'm not giving up a first personally. I wouldn't. Now, obviously, I'm not Rob. Obviously, I'm not the Lakers. They're going to make their decision however they make their decision. But, if you can do it without giving up firsts, and now you have basically both your firsts along with D'Lo and Gabe Vincent, so you could get to another 30 plus million in salary to where you could go and maybe make a move for 2 other pieces, right? And really upgrade this roster now. Or maybe you're keeping Gabe Vincent, you're just flipping D'Lo. So that way you have that point guard, that other initiator, if need be. You can always slot him into the starting role if push comes to shove. But, to me, if you can do something like that to where, say it's Vando, Rui, and Cam Reddish, right? For Jerami Grant. And then now you're going and you're taking D'Lo. Like I said, you could even take Gabe Vincent if you wanted to, and then maybe like a Jackson Hayes or something, and go get. Can you get like a Cole Anthony and a Wendell Carter Jr., something like that, right? And now you basically got a guard that can come in, play off the bench. You also got Wendell Carter Jr. So you basically solved your guard position, solved your wing position, solved your center position, right? If you could do something like that, I'm a little more open to it. But even then, Jared Vanderbilt's just so good. But he's dealt with injuries his whole career, right? He's still rehabbing from that injury from last season, that ankle injury. Or that foot injury, right? So it's just, is that a concern for the Lakers? Is that why the Lakers are shopping him? Maybe worth a thought. But anyway, as always, this is a discussion. I pass a question on you. Let me know your thoughts and opinions down in the comments below. What do you think? How do you feel? What are your thoughts? Do you have concerns? Yes, the fact that they just signed Devonte Graham, that probably means that they're not going to be willing to take on a Gabe Vincent or a D'Lo. Do you think it won't matter? I mean, Gabe Vincent, bench guy, right? I understand them not wanting D'Lo, which again is good for the Lakers, right? Because you could either keep D'Lo, you could trade him, right? Plus, there wouldn't be that sense of urgency of hey, we have to unload, and do something, right? Because you basically got your trade. You can be patient, wait till the trade deadline or however. But anyway, however you feel, whatever your thoughts are, love to hear it. Let me know down in the comments below. That being said, if you haven't liked this video, hit that like button. Helps me a lot. Helps me enjoy these types of videos, and I truly appreciate it. Not subscribe to the channel, hit that subscribe button. Turn on the bell notifications. Appreciate y'all. See you in the next one. Thank you.